talk a little bit about silence. Silence, my sisters and brothers, has many dimensions. There is a sacred silence, which is that silence out of which creative contemplation grows. It's a meditation on the word and the will of God. It's the silence out of which we meditate and get closer to God. It's the silence in which fervent prayer is born. There is a sacred silence. But then there's a seething silence that comes when you are quiet externally, but you've got a storm going on the inside. The late Dr. Howard Thurman called that a noisy quietness. But then finally, and here's the silence I want to get to, there is a sinful silence. And Adam's silence falls into this category because a sinful silence is a silence that comes over you when you ought to say something, but you don't say nothing at all. It is that silence that creeps in when you ought to speak up for God, but you sit there acting like you don't know what God said. My sisters and brothers, I fear that Adam was not only silent on that fateful day in the garden when a serpent showed up, but Adam has remained silent through the centuries. When Africans were captured and taken from their homeland, packed in the hulls of ships, sold on auction blocks, beat and killed and misused and kept in chattel slavery, Adam was silent. When Jews were persecuted, deported, and murdered by Nazis, Adam was silent. When Native Americans were slaughtered in the acts of genocide so their land could be taken from them, Adam was silent. When our ancestors were lynched and called boy and girl, even though they were full grown, when they were denied employment and equal access to resources, Adam was silent. And today, far too often, when our boys are shooting and killing each other on the streets, and our girls suffer from low self-esteem and give birth to children whose daddies won't stay around to take care of them, Adam is still silent. Sisters and brothers, there is a sinful silence among us when injustice is raging and we remain quiet. When people are aching, when people are hurting, when babies are crying and dying of hunger and not having enough love from insufficient care, and we remain silent, that is a sinful silence. When the church looks and sees what's going on in its communities, and not just in its communities, but what's going on right there in the household of faith, and we sit there and act like we don't know what's going on, that is a sinful silence. And let me suggest that there's a time when silence is sinful. And here in the text, we see a snake talking to Adam's wife. Adam remains silent. Adam should have said something. My sisters and brothers, the nation is waiting for somebody to say something. Go on, touch your neighbor and tell him you ought to say something. You see them boys on the corner, you ought to say something. You see what's happening with those sisters. I'm not talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and them. I'm talking about the saints' children. Y'all ain't gonna help me in here today. You ought to say something. The classroom is waiting for somebody to say something. Youth violence is waiting for somebody to say something. Every community, every city, every town, every home, every boy, every girl, every family is waiting for the church to break the silence. And if we don't break the silence, let me tell you what's going to happen. If we don't break the silence, we end up embracing the appeals of the serpent. What are the appeals of the serpent? 90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 3 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. Welcomes to another edition of the Spoken Word. Listen, tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air right now. For those of you who are listening to us on 90.7, call a friend, tell them, turn that dial, get it up there. Bishop is on. Those of you who are streaming, like, share, subscribe, comment, give. Let somebody know we're on there. Rep your city, rep your town. I need to know where you're chiming in from. All right. What part of the nation or the world you're coming in from. Say a prayer for our children who are going back to school. Because y'all know these crazy folk don't want to protect our children. Got to see my grandbabies this morning going off to school in Chicago. My son has started his freshman year in high school, and my other son is starting his senior year in college. For those that are still here in the nest with us, lot going on. Today, I need to deal with holding Democrats accountable. That's been the theme. You know, we talked a whole lot about the conservatives, but black folks didn't vote for them. Y'all voted for Democrats. We need to hold them accountable. Let me see here. I got South Carolina up in here on the gram. I see you, Tony Price. I see you. Home of the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. I see Dallas, Texas up in here. I see Chi-Town in the house up in here. Come on, rep your city, rep your town. Let us know where you're coming in from. I know you're proud of your spot, of your hood, of where you're coming in from. So definitely want you to rep it best you can. Good morning to each and every one of you. Listen, tell them we're talking about the Dems today. We're talking about the Democrats. We ain't talking about Trump. We ain't talking about Mitch McConnell. We're not talking about Lindsey Graham. We're not talking about the crazy Republicans in Texas trying to ban the word racism. We're talking about the Dems that 90% of y'all vote for, that ain't delivering like they told you they would. And I know that ruffles a lot of folks' feathers. Folk get all antsy, you know, when you start, I get all, listen, the same people who applaud me for coming after conservatives call me all kinds of sellouts and agents and Trump lovers and stuff like that when I come after the Democrats. It's crazy. It's like, they want you to just shut up and vote Democrat. Don't criticize them. Don't hold them accountable. Listen, we vote for them. We got a right to hold them accountable. That's what it is. Now, if y'all so beholden to the party, you can't speak ill of them, even when they cut in your throat, I feel sorry for you. Okay? 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867. Listen, don't you touch that dial. Don't y'all go nowhere. Tell a friend, tell somebody. Bishop is on the air. Rep your city, rep your town. Let us know exactly where you're chiming in from. We need to know. And let's get down. Let's talk about it. All right, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Talk to me, talk to me, yeah. Talk to me, talk to me, yeah. Talk to me, yeah. A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie, why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree, and every tree there is a forest. And what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem. Dedicate to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Remember the talk, dedicate to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you. Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta get back. Talk to me, Daddy. I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me he came to bring.
Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. That is Rhonda Swan. I like what I see. Check out her music. Yeah, you can get it. You can get it. You can get it. You can get it wherever they stream music. All right. So definitely go in there and check it out. Let me see who we got up in here. I see we got Springfield, Mass. We better have Springfield, Mass up in here. We got Atlanta, Georgia checking in. We got Detroit in here. We got Alexandria, Virginia, Chicago. Good morning, baby girl. Is checking in here. We got Los Angeles, California, checking in here. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where in the world you are chiming in from. Got y'all on the gram. I got y'all on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Let's see. I got y'all in my Twitter Spaces. All right, Twitter Spaces is up in the house. Okay, that's a new platform that we've been trying to vibe with for the last couple of weeks, and still kind of getting used to it. Okay, I got Harrisburg, Pennsylvania checking in. Good morning, Tony King. Good morning, Carlos. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Mother Valerie Fields. Good morning, Keyshawn. Good morning, Pamela Grayson. Good morning, Joseph Howard. Good morning, Aunt Marion. Good morning, the Reverend Mark Bayman. Good morning, Tyrell Williams. Good morning, Francina Brown, Tiffany Mack, Mohammed. Good morning. Good morning. I don't want to, it's like in church. You call names, and then somebody gets upset you didn't call them. Good morning to everybody, everywhere. Good morning, Cambridge, Massachusetts, up in here. Tell somebody we're on rep, like, share. Do me a favor, share. Everybody share right now. Share right now. If you're on Twitter and you're in the spaces, share the space. If you're on the video, share the video. If you're on Facebook, share. If you're on YouTube, share. Let somebody else know that we are in here. Okay. Let me see now. My mic is on this time. Last week I was on Twitch Spaces and didn't have my mic on. I got it on now. I'm getting used to this now, y'all. My mic sound nice. Check 1. My mic sound nice. Check 2. Anyway, y'all got to be old to know what that's about. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867 is the number here if you want to chime in on the conversation. Coming up at the 10 o'clock hour, we got the First Lady coming on, and she's got special guests that will be coming on. I believe at 9:30 we'll have State Representative Bud Williams will be calling in to talk about some things that are happening here in the city. So trying to give you a lot of information this morning. Good morning, Louisville, Kentucky. Up in here. Y'all need to, anyway, I ain't gonna mess with you. I told you I was gonna mess with them Republicans. I was about to say something about your representatives in Kentucky, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Somebody said they can't catch the number. 413-337-1867. You can't see it on the gram because we can't stream on the gram along with everywhere else because Instagram is special like that. So you gotta stream to them separately. So a lot of the graphics and things that everybody else can see, y'all can't peep on the gram. So once again, the number is 413-337-1867. 1867. I probably should have put that in the caption there on the gram so y'all would have it, but we'll repeat it every now and then just so you know. 413-337-1867. If you want to chime in on the Twitter space, if you're in the Twitter space, and I see quite a few of you all jumping into the Twitter space right now, all you need to do is request to speak. And if you request to speak, we can bring you up into the Twitter space and you can say your piece. All right, you can get your little say-so on. And some of y'all get uncomfortable, like I said, when we start talking about the Democrats. Good morning, Chesapeake, Virginia. Folk get nervous. You know, they start saying stuff like, "Oh, well, do you want Trump back?" It ain't about wanting Trump back. You know, it's like it's like if you complain somehow if you complain about one thing that's happening, you want to trade it in for something worse. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's like if I have a backache and then I have a knee ache and I complain about my knee ache, you say, "Well, would you prefer to have your backache?" No, how about I not have either one of them? How about that? You know, how about I not have racist Republicans and not have the foolery from the Democrats at the same time? Why do black people always have to choose one or the other? You know, and if we choose the lesser of two evils, we can't talk about the lesser evil. We can't criticize the lesser evil, even though we give them 90% of our votes. There's some of y'all out here acting like it's blasphemy if you say something about them. No, we're not going for that. We're not going for that. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We need to hold them accountable. We need to hold them accountable. Let me see if I can pull up. Let me see if I can pull up a portion of what I said. I went down to Washington, D.C. on Saturday and spoke at the Make Good Trouble rally. And I had some words for the Democrats and for the president. I want you all to hear what I had to say to them at that time. Let me see if I can get a share on. Y'all have to excuse me. I'm sometimes I know a little bit about technology, but sometimes I can be a little bit challenged. But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. There we go. Here we go. So let's see if we can get this in here. I just want you to hear. Want you to hear a little bit about what I said at that time. You get the volume popping. Here we go.
We come to make demands on the president who said that he would have our backs. The only way you have our backs is to deliver police reform, not to give the police more money, not to take qualified immunity off the table. You can't have our backs by preserving the filibuster, something that you said was a relic from the Jim Crow era, Mr. President. You cannot have our backs by publicly declaring the president, vice president, and the majority whip saying America is not a racist country. Yes, it is a racist country. We live it every single day. It's time to have our backs and stop riding our backs. And Black America, let me tell you, it's time to straighten your back up. Because MLK said a man can't ride your back unless it's bent.
So that was a part of what I had to say during the Good Trouble rally in DC, and that was an underlying theme of many of the speakers that were there on that day. That we didn't come here like the year before when we went to the anniversary of the March on Washington. It was in August of 2020, preceding the November election. And so we were pushing our people to vote. Many were pushing to get Donald Trump out of office. This year, they didn't come to slam conservatives. They came to say, wait a minute, y'all have been in power now for 8 months. We gave y'all the presidency. We gave y'all the House. We gave y'all the Senate. And you have delivered for the LGBTQ community, the transgender community. You have delivered for immigrants. You have delivered for Asians and Pacific Islanders. You have delivered for Afghan refugees. You have delivered for hunchback and one-legged folk, but you haven't delivered for black people yet. And black people are the ones who put you over the hump, who gave Biden South Carolina and turned his primary prospects around. Let's not get it twisted. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, Bishop, you know, it was all kinds of people. It was a coalition of people. Let's not get it twisted. They never would have flipped Georgia from red to blue without black voters in Atlanta. Never would have happened. They never would have flipped Pennsylvania from red to blue without black voters in Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia. They never would have flipped Michigan without black voters in blackety black Detroit. Okay? They never would have flipped Wisconsin without black voters in Milwaukee. So let's just keep it a buck. Dems would not have the presidency, the Senate, or the House without black voters. And when the balance of the Senate was in play, black voters got 2 Democrats in 2 special elections, okay, in Georgia in January. So you would think when Biden says, you've always had my back and I'm going to have your back, that he would deliver something for us. But he's waffling on police reform. The majority whip, Jim Clyburn's taking qualified immunity off the table. He's cool with it. Biden's not checking him on that. He's slamming folks for saying defund the police. Matter of fact, Biden is giving the cops more money. He's telling folk, take from the COVID money we sent y'all, get that to the police. So you want to give the ones who murder us every 28 hours more money to keep brutalizing us. You want to take qualified immunity off the table. You don't flex any muscle in terms of getting the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed. Your answer for the suppression of our voting rights is to vote harder, because you're not going to push removing the filibuster, even though this president said it was a relic from the Jim Crow era. He ain't down with abolishing the filibuster. So black folk, just vote harder. That's their answer. Outmaneuver, out-organize those that are trying to suppress your vote, and then give your votes to us. That's the message the Democrats are sending. And like Mbaka from the Jabari tribe said, we will not have it. No, we're not going for that. We're not going for that. The Democratic leaders' plan for overcoming the Republican Party's attempts to restrict and disenfranchise our votes is just vote harder. Vote in higher numbers. Outmaneuver them. Outplan them. Civil rights leaders expressed their frustration publicly. They told the New York Times that White House officials and close allies of the president have expressed confidence that it is possible to out-organize voter suppression. That's what they want us to do. Out-organize voter suppression. So you can't give grandma a bottle of water in Georgia who's been standing in line for 3.5 hours. Just out-organize that type of voter suppression. That's what y'all got to do. Out-organize that. Because ever since Trump got beat, Republican-led states, they have engaged in a massive campaign to narrow voting access. Okay? And it's been unrelenting. And unfortunately, the position of Democratic leaders is not even a plan. The only course of action is to outplan them, out-strategize them, outdo them. Work harder. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Is that all y'all got for us? Is that all you have for the constituency that has given you 90% of its votes? And so, it's harder and harder and harder to, I've never been one who advocated don't vote. But it's harder for people like me to refute those advocates who say, listen, Republicans are straight up racist. They make no bones about it. Can't vote for them. Democrats take us for granted. Shouldn't vote for them either. It's harder and harder to refute that logic. Democrats don't make it easy to refute that logic. To say, listen, just vote down ballot. Focus on your local elections. Focus on city council and the district attorney and the common council and your school committee races and those offices that affect your everyday quality of life right where you are locally. It's hard to refute. It's hard to refute that when national Democratic leaders continue to take us for granted. 413-337-1867. I'm going to try to bring up Tehran Empire onto my spaces. Let's see if we can get them on to see what you have to say. You got to unmute your mic, but you're in the speaker space. Are you there? Tehran, you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning.
Oh, let me see. Hold on 1 second.
We got you on. You're on. Speak.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Here's the issue, my brother. And I'm going to tell you something that no black people will to say, but it's true. We have no allies. The Black Congressional Caucus does nothing for black people. It's just a bunch of black people sitting there not doing nothing for us. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
We have often voted Democrat. My mother's a Democrat. My grandmother's a Democrat. This person's a Democrat. This person's a Democrat. Tell me, what does this party do for us? And the Republicans is true. They're straight up racist. There's nothing they got for us neither. Mm-hmm. We have to find our own way and decertify ourselves from the Democratic Party and become independents away from both political parties and make the highest bidder come for our vote. Because the truth is be told, the Democrats are not going to fight for voting rights for us. They're not going to do that. And it is the Terran Empire.
The Terran Empire? Okay, listen,
yeah,
let me ask you this question then, because you make a good point. This is the irony of that for me. When you say the Democrats aren't going to fight for our right to vote, and so far they have shown you to be accurate. Mm-hmm. But they can't win without our votes, which makes it crazy that they are not fighting tooth and nail for our voting rights when they cannot win. They can't win the White House. They can't win the Senate. They can't win the House without our votes. Explain that logic to me.
What they're thinking. I'm going to tell you what they're thinking. They have this imaginary thing in their head. We got all these other minorities coming into the country, other Africans from Africa, Latinos, Asians. This is the new democratic voting future. It is a lie. The truth of the matter is this. Just like Southern whites are the backbone of the Republican Party, black people are the backbone of the Democratic Party. And I never see Republicans not doing things for their constituency, even though they do mostly for rich people. I will say that, but they never forget about that white constituency that they have. Number two.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're right. They do what they do tangible is for their wealthy constituency. But what they do emotionally and psychologically is for your rank and file constituency. Those poor white folks down south who their policies don't benefit, they at least psychologically make them think that, hey, we're saving you from these Negroes taking over the country. We're saving you from these immigrants. So they play into their racism to make them feel empowered. So they do give something to all of their constituents in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly. And my last point to you, brother, I called us Black Americans terrorists. That's why I said the Terran Empire on my thing. It's not to divorce myself from Africa, because we're always African, but the African name of the continent was Terra before Africa Scipio took the continent over under the Roman Empire a long time ago. Before the continent was called Terra, not Africa. That's another story. But just let me finish this last thing and I will stop. We would like to do the things that need to be done. We have to do it on an internal level. You cannot find help on the outside, and the Democrats have shown us that they are not on our side like that. They'll take our votes. There's many black Democrats all over the place, right? Plenty. But the issue is, when they become Democrats, they become Democrats and not black Democrats. You know what I'm saying? And we are the only group of people. We got plenty of these so-called people in Congress that have our color but don't have our interests. The Supreme Court proves that every single time with Clarence Thomas. You have to realize that a true ally will be there with you through thick and thin. Now, like I said, I gave a lot of people credit that still were Black Americans or Terrans when the riots were going on last year. I give that major props. But at the same time, we came out and we gave Joe Biden the presidency. We gave them the Senate. We gave them the House. And what have they done? Nothing. And the truth of the matter is this. Republicans push policies to get us mad at Democrats, and Democrats, they do this tactic fighting back of it. They don't really fight against those issues on our behalf. Welfare reform was to hurt Black Americans. That's why they did it. Unintentionally, it hurt all American groups because every American group takes in welfare. That's the truth. This unemployment insurance, this renter insurance, they thought it would hurt mostly poor minority groups. It hurt everybody. But the idea for their constituency, let's show these minorities, let's show these immigrants, let's show these blacks that they don't really belong. Let's kick them out their houses. That's all it's about. Wow. And the problem for us as a community is that we have to start looking on the inside instead of the out. We need to do community economics. We need to move away from shopping with other people. We need to do all of that. It's time for us to take care of us. We have been the greatest and most open group of people in this country. We welcome everybody in here, from the Irish to the Catholics to the Jews to everybody. You name it, black folks has welcomed into this country. And when people get to a certain level, they shit on us, to be honest.
My brother. Powerful. Appreciate you. Wow. Brother, put it down. I mean, hey, you know what? hey, I can't refute anything he said. It is what it is. If you want to chime in, if you're in the Twitter space, put your request in to speak, and we'll get you in. If you're listening over WTCC or streaming on one of our other social media outlets, give us a call at 413-337-1867, 413-337-1867. It was in 2013, Chief Justice John Roberts gutted a key section of the Voting Rights Act. He deployed a dubious legal doctrine that had no textual roots in the Constitution. And basically, he argued that racism was a thing of the past. In 2019, after a flood of partisan voting laws targeting Democratic constituencies, the conservatives on the court gave their blessing to partisan gerrymandering. In effect, what they did was they granted Republicans permission to discriminate on the basis of race, so long as they argued that they were targeting voters because they were Democrats, not because they were black. That's crazy. I mean, this is what happened. In 2021, this year, the court continued its efforts to read the 15th Amendment out of the Constitution, finding that barely any discriminatory restrictions would run afoul of the Voting Rights Act absent the most concrete proof of intent to discriminate. So while we celebrate the passage of the Voting Rights Act and we talk about how hard Dr. King and others worked to get it passed, we're sitting here acting like we're oblivious to the fact that it is no longer in effect. There is no Voting Rights Act in America right now. You know, basically what they said, what the Supreme Court has basically said is that as long as plausible deniability is maintained, any discriminatory act is cool. As long as you say, oh, we didn't mean to discriminate against black folk with that. As long as they can give plausible deniability, it's all right. It's okay. You all have to understand what we're up against. And the Democrats are basically saying, yeah, we know what they're doing. Just outmaneuver them, outorganize them. We're not going to get rid of the filibuster to pass voting rights. We're not going to restore the Voting Rights Act. We're going to put on kente cloth, get on our knees, and we're going to celebrate the passage of the Voting Rights Act 56 years ago, but we ain't going to do nothing to restore it. Think about that. Think about that. We're not going to do anything to restore it. It's absolutely insane. Let me bring up Chanel on Twitter Spaces. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chanel Poe, former elected school board member in Phoenix, Arizona. And to your point, Bishop, the Supreme Court upheld voting restrictions in the state of Arizona and across the country.
Yes.
We have been pressuring our senators and doing direct actions. But in terms of voting rights, what I see in Arizona and what I see in the Southwest is that the movement is trying to be hijacked from other minority groups who have to basically do an erasure of Black people in the civil rights movement, of all the hard work that our ancestor did to get us voting rights.
Wow.
Arizona, congressional candidates. We have multiple campaigns going on to continue to pressure Sinema, but we know that she's not going to move, and we need to re-strategize our various tactics right now. And it's very hard. It's very challenging being a Black woman in Phoenix, Arizona, because I have the foundation of being very much so communal. Mm-hmm. And our people, instead of chasing clout and chasing position, we need to think about how these policies are going to devastate our communities. Mm-hmm. We have over 89% of the coronavirus funds have not been dispersed to families. People are being relocated. They're being displaced. Children are starting school again. And there's just a ton of issues. What I really encourage us to do is everyone get involved locally. Sometimes it can be challenging in some of these spaces, but we have to take up spaces, Black people, and we have to reclaim who we are as a people, and also work diligently to do grassroots outreach to other African Americans. Democrats have already shown us time and time again that they will not have our back. They will quickly throw us under the bus because we are not the right minority in the Southwest.
Wow. Well,
and
Chanel, let me ask you.
Voting, yes.
What party are you a part of?
I am considered a Democrat. I served on the executive committee, but I stepped away from that.
Right.
Because it's challenging. You can't have me feel pigeonholed as something that I have the right to be a part of. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I move around them. I work with national organizations. I'm trying to do work with them here locally, but a lot of times here, they're very much so misled because they're afraid of their Blackness. We live in Jim Crow in Arizona. Arizona is a frontier state. And unfortunately, you have Black folks who will shuck and jive to try to get to the top, and it means nothing to improve the quality of life for African Americans in the Valley of the Sun.
Wow. What district do you represent?
I'm in LD 27. I'm in Congressional District number 9. So Kirsten is she is my congressional representative. Okay. I live in City District number 8. So I'm in the city, baby. I'm right here next to the airport. Mm-hmm. I love my district. I love my community. But what I see so many people crumbling, and they look like us. And it's very, very visible. And my city leadership, they backwards. It's all about, again, it's about clout. It's about position. It's not about helping people. So I just get up and do things on my own. You know, I get up and take water to homeless people at the bus stops and try to provide masks to the community. And I hold our mayor accountable. You know, I can take a picture with her, but I can still text her and let her know, hey, why are people telling me that they're only $200 or $300 away short from their rent, and they're not getting the access to the $1 billion of federal funding that we received from Washington, D.C.
Wow.
So it's a very hard game. You know, we have Governor Doug Ducey. We have a Republican governor, right? He's telling schools that you can't do any mask mandates or I'm going to take federal funding. I'm going to take school funding away from you. You know, we have a governor who says, I don't care, it's a pandemic, get back to work, and kicked everybody off of unemployment in July when it's set to expire September the 6th.
And so you would think that Democrats would be up in arms and they would be, you know, doing whatever they could do to fight against what is happening. And at the very least, even if they don't have the political capital or clout or numbers to affect change, they would use their bully pulpits against this foolery.
Correct. And what I have to remind them is don't act like, first of all, on Navajo, on our reservations, Arizona has the most federally recognized reservations, 22, that help carry the vote for Biden. But let's also keep in mind that Black cities, like where I'm originally from, Detroit, We helped Biden win his election.
Absolutely.
We saw black cities across the country turn out. And what does this mean for them? This means eviction. This means lack of access to nutrition. This means not having competent leadership within our school system to truly stand up for our children. I mean, I appreciate the national organizations pouring money into political ads and spending millions of dollars. But what I would like to see is I would like to see a fund start. I would like to see a fund for a potential candidate against Kirsten Sinema. We're very complacent in Arizona, and it takes righteous leaders to be in place to create a revolutionary. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge because everybody is not on the same page. Again, Arizona is a place where black people move. They buy themselves a bigger house. They feel like they don't want to be connected to their family where they're from. But when you have people like myself and others are here, we're rooted in blackness. We are rooted in community, and we are rooted in the advancement of our communities during this challenging time during the pandemic.
Chanel, thank you so much for jumping in this space. Your words are powerful, and we support what you're doing, and prayerfully we can get more sisters like you and brothers like you that are working in the trenches. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chanel. Shout out to my frat brother Earl Newton, who is there in Phoenix with Chanel, along with other black folk who are down there who know exactly what the sister was talking about. 413-337-1867 is the number if you want to call into the program. Otherwise, you can jump up on the Twitter space. I got BLM in the Twitter space at the moment. BLM, you're on. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Julian from the South Bay. I'm with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles.
All right.
We had an issue over here with Bruce Beach in Manhattan Beach. You know that the African-American people got their land back there.
Okay.
And a lot of people are talking about racism. Racism has been around in the South Bay, in Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes, Lomita Sheriffs, and all over the area. And it's funny because it's not funny. Sorry about that. I put a Black Lives Matter flag in front of my house, and all of a sudden, all the neighbors around here shunned me. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. You know, I'm here thinking that I'm in a half decent neighborhood. It's called Golden Hills in Redondo Beach, and I'm starting to see that all these people hate me now because I put up a Black Lives Matter flag.
Listen,
even a guy that I've known for 50 years, Arbelardo Del Rosario, who's a deputy reserve, just totally shunned me.
You have joined the club. In Michigan recently, there was a black couple where their neighbor shot bullets into their home, slashed their tires, painted a swastika on their truck, all because they had a Black Lives Matter sign in their window. Someone came and vandalized our church yesterday, cut off the handicap banister, sawed it off, because we have a Black Lives Matter sign on our church. These people are losing their minds over Black Lives Matter. It's crazy.
It is. And we even went in front of the Torrance courthouse to celebrate the two racist police officers. They were fired from my hero now, George Gaston, because he fired two racist Torrance PD officers from the South Bay, and he suspended 14 others. And I'm telling you, this man is really surprising because he's even going after the banditos that the FBI were supposed to take control of and get rid of these guys that are from East LA Sheriff's Department that are actually killing African Americans, and their initiation is to kill an African American.
Wow.
So that's what I'm talking about, man. I'm talking real serious crime. And what happens with the banditos, when they get in trouble, They go into other agencies like Torrance PD, Hermosa Beach PD, El Segundo PD, Manhattan Beach PD, Palos Verdes PD. And they filtered out and they start spreading that cancer all into the police department, brainwashing weak people who believe like them that we are not one race. We are the white people are superior to all races, and that's why they call us minorities. So what I say is, I say we need to stop white privilege in America.
Yeah,
we need to stop that bullshit and start realizing that we're all one race, the human race, and we all have values, and we're all children of God, not just one fucking race. Oh, sorry for that. Not just one race.
I feel your passion. I feel it.
Go ahead, sir.
I feel your passion, brother. I feel it, and I appreciate your words and you coming up in the Twitter space. Stay strong, man. Stay strong and keep up the fight.
Remember, before I leave, every Wednesday at Los Angeles in front of the ACLU building, I'm there every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
All right,
and I'm there proud to represent Black Lives Matter. That's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Wow. 413-337-1867. I got 6 minutes left in on WTCC. We'll continue to go on the Twitter space and on our social media networks. First Lady's coming up at 10 o'clock. We've got some guests coming up as well. Listen, I need to remind you of a couple of things. Hope Fest 2021. Hope Fest 2021 will take place at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, for those in the 413. All right. It's happening from 12 noon to 5 p.m. We've got live music. DJ KLS is going to be with us. We've got entertainment. We've got the Prodigal Sons. We've got Pastor Jesse Burgess and the Singing Saints. We've got Vanessa Ford. We've got Pastor J.P. Morgan. We got K. Sam, T. Swan. We got, so many. We've got spoken word. We got D. Moss. We got Lynette Johnson. We've got dance that's happening. We've got games, face painting for the kids. We've got Dunk the Bishop. I'm going to get in the dunk tank. And if you can hit the ball, on the target, you'll be able to dunk the bishop. Hopefully it's not going to be cold out on that day. We've got all of that kind of stuff going on, and we will have medical professionals on site that will be talking about this pandemic. All of that is happening on the 11th, September 11th. You want to be in the house, okay? Our annual Holy Convocation, September 9 through 12. I got Bishop Victor Rush in the house with me on the 9th. We've got Supervisor Madeline Norfleet in the house with us on the 10th. And then on the 12th, the official day service. I'll be preaching at 3 o'clock on that Sunday. You want to be a part of Holy Convocation 2021. You want to be a part of Hope Fest 2021. Listen, on the 16th of September, Thursday the 16th, the virtual NAACP Freedom Fund. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Jamal Bryant. All right. Pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, also former youth and college president for the national NAACP. I need for you to register for that right now. I need for you to get in there and register right now. The registration link is focusspringfield.com. Matter of fact, I'm typing it right now. focusspringfield.com/NAACPGS. focusspringfield.com/NAACPGS. I just put that in the chat section. I need y'all to click that. I need you to register right now. Listen, your registration fee includes your annual NAACP membership. You want to be a part of that. We're going to be talking about COVID. We're going to be talking about prostate cancer. We're going to have music. We're going to have our award ceremony, giving away some awards to some very important people in our community. And then we'll have our keynote address by Dr. Jamal Bryant. So you don't want to miss our annual Freedom Fund. All right. You want to be a part of that. All right. So do all of that. Listen, coming up at the top of the hour, we've got First Lady. I forget who her guest is going to be, but she's going to tell you who the guests are going to be today. So you don't want to miss that, especially those of you who are here locally. You want to be a part of all of that that's happening momentarily. So don't y'all go nowhere. Those of you who are streaming, those of you who are listening on WTCC, listen, all you need to do is just switch up, come on to the social media space. After we're off the radio, you come on over to the social media space and you can join us in continuing the conversation. Listen, here y'all would start calling me. Y'all would start calling when I'm going off the air. Listen, we'll keep that call on. We'll get you on the other side. I see you in the Twitter space requesting to come on, and we'll get you on definitely. Listen, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you. So do I. Those of you who are with us streaming, stay with us. We'll be right back.
For all the brothers that passed, more particularly one because it affected me drastically. I remember my sister gave me the call and I was in awe. Matter of fact, it felt the farthest from reality. She seen somebody post RIP with his name and I said I doubt it's the same friend I had since the 7th grade. She said I'ma call his sister and double check, and called me back, said he hanged himself in his room and had been there for days. Initially it didn't hit me, then it clicked, and I remembered that I hadn't seen or heard from the homie all week. Wish she had told me what had him feeling lonely and weak. I guess everybody got demons we don't even speak of, cause I was with him exactly a week before the call. Just under 20, he couldn't even purchase alcohol. My best friend for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not ashamed to say I shedded plenty tears, but it was hard. He was somebody I had plenty memories with. The first person I ever burned any trees with. The worst worst feeling is knowing that you will leave us and all this grievance without a reason. One of the first people to ever believe in me. When it came down to it, you knew you could call me if you needed me. Cause that information I wouldn't have ever imagined. It's sad thinking about it. I ain't happy that it happened, but it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it, now I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am
on a daily.
I know it may sound crazy,
but I'm glad that it made me.
Yeah, was born the son of a pastor. He was who I was named after. Matter of fact, I even got some of his characteristics. Both of us got messages for the people. I just do mine with rhythm on beat. He do his on the pulpit with scriptures. Well connected, respected in the community. Ever since I was little, I felt like there was some pressure on me.
You put the pressure on him.
Little stuff like when my folk brought us to church and then they forced us to get up and say a testimony. Getting older, had to watch how I acted in public. Cause people wouldn't hesitate to put that in discussion. Chatting like, is it that the pastor's kid? I'm like, yeah, that's me. But please don't expect me to be exactly like my daddy. Discredit my family for how I am. I'm not a little kid no more, I'm now a man. And I ain't playing favorites, I'm not trying to do no blaming at all. When it comes to how I came up, I wouldn't change it at all. Because it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that
it would drive me crazy. That it gave me. All right. It's the after show, y'all. That was T Swan. T Swan, you need to go check him out. He got some new music out. Check him out anywhere you stream music. That's my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. Right? Check him out. All right. First lady is in the hizzy.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I know I sound a little raspy, right? I sound a little raspy, babe. Hey, baby.
Welcome to Queen and Slim.
No. 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 Still haven't settled in on the name yet. But I got an idea this morning. I got a name, babe. I got a name. You want to hear it?
What is it?
Justice and Flow. A play on hustle and flow. You get it?
Yeah, that's better than what you've been coming up with.
Right? Isn't that cute?
That's better than what you've been coming up with.
I thought of poetic justice, and I thought of hustle and flow. And because Flo is one of my little nicknames. First Lady of Worship. So Justice and Flow.
I feel you.
What the listeners think? I like Justice and Flow. Since Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast was perfect to me.
No.
Beauty and the Beast was perfect to me.
All right, we're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna leave that. That's beating the dead horse.
And the Beast was perfect to me, just like we're gonna leave Queen and Slim alone.
All right, then we're gonna do Queen and Slim before we do some Beauty and some Beast.
No, we not.
Willie Templeton is in the Twitter space. Bruh, you were in Massachusetts. You didn't bother calling nobody, let them know. I gotta see clips on the internet of you preaching in my state, and I ain't even know you was here. But that's all right. I ain't gonna say nothing about it. I ain't gonna let everybody know you was in Massachusetts and didn't call the bishop. That's all right. Anyway, tell me who we got on today.
So we are going to have a candidate running for school committee for the first time, and that is Sister Ayana Crawford.
All right, I see her backstage already. Should we be expecting anybody else?
Yes, we might be being joined by Sister Tanisha Arena. She might be coming on just to add a little bit of spice to the conversation.
Adding spice, huh?
Yeah, adding a little bit of spice to the conversation today.
Yeah, I might have to dip off because if I get
if I get 3 of y'all ladies on here, that's too much spice for me. That might be too much spice for a brother.
Yeah, So I'm sending her something right now. So
while she's doing that, 413-337-1867, 413-337-1867 is the number if you want to chime in on the conversation this morning. Tell a friend, tell somebody. We're in the after show, in the after flow. Hey, William Burks, what's happening? I see you, my brother. I see my cousin Ivory is up in the house. Carlos Rivera, I see y'all. Margie from Westfield, I think. I see you, Kathy Swanson. Let me tell you something. Ain't nobody scared of Matt. Every time I talk about Dunk the Bishop, Kathy always, bragging that her son dunked me the last time. He lucked up and got,
he didn't luck up.
One of his balls, he had 3 balls, only one of them hit the target.
He got a good aim. He got a good arm. Got a good arm.
Anyway, so yeah.
The listeners are liking Justice and Flow.
We'll gauge that. So I just want to tell you, Kathy, he ain't dunking nobody. He ain't dunking a donut. All right. Anyway, babe, introduce your guest.
Well, this is oh God, it's so much that I could say about her. But first of all, let me say that she is a friend of mine. She's someone who is known in the community. She's very involved, very engaged. Her love and devotion for the community is undeniable. And this year she's making her first bid, her first run for school committee. And listen, I am behind her as much as possible, 100%, and with an additional 100%. And we need to have her definitely on the school committee, and we're just bringing her in to have a little bit of a conversation with her about her run and about why she's running and what she wants to do on the school committee. How you doing, Ayana? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Bishop. Good morning, Lady Swan. It's so great to see you both. And let me know what the title of the show is or the name of the show so I can tweet it out, Instagram it out, and let folks know.
We're still working on names. So you in the beginning. So we're gonna get this thing right, soon. But I've certainly am appreciative of my husband.
It's Queen and Slim.
It is not. I think it's Justice and Flow. But we still working on it, sis. So what do you think? What do you think would be a good name?
Hey, just make an acronym out of it so it's both of the names combined.
Okay.
See, that's political correctness right there.
We always got to compromise. You know what I said too? I came up with this name too, Ayana. I said, we can call ourselves Black Power Swans.
Like it.
Like Black Swan, but Black Power Swans.
Like Power Rangers or something?
No, babe, it's Black Power, Black Swan. So I just put it all together.
Okay.
And that's the title of T-Man's new project, Black Swan.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, Ayana, how you doing this morning? I know you're very busy.
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be on the after show or the after.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to become the main show after a while. But you didn't hear that from me.
All right, all right.
Syndicated. I'm a prophesy. It's gonna become nationally syndicated. Yes.
Let's claim it. Let's claim it.
Justice and flow. Justice and flow.
All right, just so y'all know, we're on the gram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We got Twitter Spaces in here. And there's a couple people that are requesting to speak on Twitter Spaces, but I'm gonna see where y'all go. So Tamara, just hold on, and I'll let you get started with your conversation with our sister, and then we'll kind of flow from there.
Okay, good. Thank you, Bishop. Be on the lookout for Sister Tanisha in case she chimes in, because I would love to, hear her perspective on some things that I'm hoping that Ayana and I can get to today. Ayana, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the first part of Bishop's show today, but there's a certain kind of climate that exists in this country concerning political consciousness or political awareness. And we as Black people certainly are always in a very unique position. And we're always having to decide about, what we're going to do, what our strategy is, and what we're going to do to certainly, get behind and support, people who will look out for us. And so one of the reasons why I thought that it would be perfect to bring people like you onto the after show and have conversations is because I think that it's becoming more important to follow people like Cori Bush and concentrate on what's going on at home, and put a lot of our energy and stamina and focus, attention, if you will, into, the local politics. And I know that we say that all politics are local, but, as we are seeing now, all of the work that we did as Black people, putting the Democrats in office, and we're not getting anything in return. So again, we need to be more direct, and we need to be more focused, and we need to remember, we need to put that same energy and some into what's happening here. So you are a direct reflection of that. Your run, for school committee is definitely a reflection of what's going on locally, and our need of you on the school committee is a reflection of what's going on here locally, politically, locally. So at one time I wanted to pair you and Zeta because I thought that it was a very unique relationship, that was happening. And I do still want you to speak to that if you can. But what's happening with you and Zeta running for city council, and of course you running for school committee. So I guess that's really going to be my first question is, can you kind of speak to how that happened and what that is, what's happening with you and Zeta and y'all run. This is her first run too of the city council, and this is your first run for school committee. So can you speak to that unity and why you feel that it's necessary for you and Zeta to be running your campaigns in the way that you are?
Absolutely. First and foremost, good morning to your listeners. Good morning to the after show with Bishop and Lady Swan, Black Swan, Beauty and the Beast. Let's get it all out there, right? So I think, and to be very frank and honest and very serious at this point, because I believe politics are serious, and it's nothing to play with, and it's nothing to go into lightly. And so I think in terms of what we see nationally, what we see locally, we've got to decide, and I mean decide, that Black and Brown folks need to come together. And so as we, myself and Zeta, really sort of thought about the unity of our togetherness as sisters, but more importantly, as our togetherness of a group of folks, Black and brown, that need to synergize and need to clarify how we're going to work collaboratively together, because our issues are the same and or even more. And so it just made sense. We live in the same area, we work in the same area, we communicate and we organize in the same area. And so for us to unify and to collaborate together to show our community that together we can, and together we're going to be stronger and more unified. And so those are some of the principles and basic sentiments from my point of view. Of course, I don't want to speak for Zeta, but certainly those are sort of my thoughts in terms of what we sort of clarified on how we're going to move as we sort of campaign on this journey.
Well, I'm really glad to hear you say that, and I agree with you. I know you don't want to speak for Zeta, but I'm sure that her sentiments of her heart would be the same or very closely similar. But you know, it's amazing to me. I never thought about it, but it is very unique. I've never seen it before. Like, you know, you guys are not just, you ladies are not just supporting each other in mouth, you know, in words, but you're also, like, you're canvassing together, you're bringing your resources together, you're bringing your ideas together, like you're really backing each other, you're supporting each other. Oftentimes, now I'm starting to see, you know, because you had your yard signs a little bit earlier than Zeta did. And so now I'm starting to see everywhere you have a sign, she has a sign. And I just think that it's amazing. And like I said, you know, a lot of times you're in presence together, you're doing the work together, you're campaigning together, you know, to see that unity and to see that sisterhood. I'm not surprised as a Black woman, because that's how we are. We're very relational people. So I'm not surprised that it panned out that way, that it was organically, you know, created that way. But, you know, quite frankly, we've never seen it before. We've never seen it before. And I think it's very powerful. And I think that it's very spiritual, and I think it's needed, and I think it's necessary. So, you know, I applaud you both for doing it in that way, and being willing to do it that way, and not rejecting it and resisting it, you know, because it's never been seen before and it's never been done before. So can you tell us a little bit more about why you decided to run at this time, for school committee?
Absolutely. And before I do that, I want to back up just a moment, because I think there's a critical piece that I want to share with the audience, because I don't want to run out of time. And so I want to share something very critical in terms of ward representation. As you and Bishop know, and of course, Bishop was on the front lines in terms of making sure that ward representation came about. And so I want to give your audience a quick history, because I'm a history buff. I love finding out information. And so, of course, Bishop, I know he said this numerous times, but I want to remind everyone in terms of this particular position that I'm running for, which is District 4, Wards 2 and 8. So I'm running for a ward seat, which is a neighborhood seat that encompasses wards 2 and 8. And so there's a historical piece in terms of how did we get here? How did we get here to ward representation for our entire city? How did the charter of our current municipal government change? How did that change? And who was at the forefront? So I want to give you a quick timeline and a quick history, because I think it's so important. And of course, Bishop knows this history, but I want to share this with your audience. So in 1977, there was 2 non-binding ballot questions to adopt ward representation, were soundly defeated. The vote failed 5,774 to 13,338 to have ward seats for the city council, and 5,689 to 12,976 for ward seats on the school committee. That was 1977. Then in 1987, another non-binding question and another defeat losing by a vote of 5,680 in favor and 670 against. Then moving forward, 10 years later, the fight hasn't stopped. Bishop and everyone else, Arise, and so many different grassroots organizations came back again. In 1997, voters were in favor, now get this, in ward representation by a vote of 10,328 to 7,340. But it did not meet the threshold for passage. So the question needed at least 25,196 yeses for the votes to be binded, or a 1/3 of all the registered voters.
And you didn't have that amount that even came out to vote.
Exactly. So poignant. And then Bishop, as you know, in November 2007, voters overwhelmingly approved, right, the voter representation for a system of 8 ward seats and then 5 at-large seats in a binding ballot question. So they passed it at the binding passage. Then, so as you know,
can I just interrupt just quickly because I want to throw in a couple caveats in that.
Yes,
that people may not know. When we filed the first lawsuit, the agreement we made with persons on the city council at that time, when we put forth the citizens initiative petition, was if the citizens approved, and what we meant by if the majority of them voted for ward representation,
correct,
will you institute it? They said yes. And on that basis, we dropped the first lawsuit based on the promise of those counselors that we would put all or nothing into whether or not the citizens supported the ballot question. So we dropped the first lawsuit. 58% of the voters said, yes, we want ward representation.
Correct.
Then they said, oh yeah, well, the voters want it, but you didn't get the threshold for it to pass. But that wasn't the question. So they reneged on their promise, which is what forced us to file a second lawsuit. Right. I just want to give that background history.
No, and that's critical, because I think what happens is we see all these, folks running for ward representation, and we don't understand how we got here. And I think that's critically important, Bishop, to make sure folks know that this was a grassroots effort. There was lawsuits that were happening, and the city charter did not want to see it happen, plain and simple. So now here I am, right? 30 years later or so, as a Black woman running for a seat that was designated for us from our neighborhoods, from our communities, to be able to be on the city council, to be on the school committee. And so here I am. After all of this work that you, Bishop, and others have done, here is the fruit of your labor. And so it is critically important that we recognize this, that I do not take this opportunity lightly. And I'm very clear. And that's why I'm working so hard, because of what you did, Bishop, and everyone else before me. And so this position is not something that I'm taking lightly. This is a ward seat that we fought for in order to have. Plain and simple. Point blank.
Let me bring up two things. One, I want to bring up. Okay, I thought she was on the listener space. She jumped off. So Tamara Johnson was up here, but we'll get her back on. But Zaida is in the Zaida and are in the back room.
Oh, good. Very good.
So let's bring up all of this sugar and spice.
in all things nice.
Bring it.
Nice.
Bring it.
Let me get them all up in here.
Bring it.
Right.
There you are. And you know what? I'm gonna back out for a minute and let you ladies have at it.
No, we don't need you to back out.
Come on back. So
I'm here.
So Bishop, so again, this is critically important, this ward seat. And so I don't want to make this a political stance. this is the fight that we've been fighting for. So now the realization of Black and brown folks running in the wards is the fruit of the labor that you all fought this city for. And so that's why.
Here's the reality. Our city had a system that diluted the votes of Black folks and brown folks. That's the reality. And what we did with ward representation was say, hey, you know what? We want to be able to elect our own folk in our own neighborhoods so that we can have fair representation. And that's what that fight was all about. And people like you and Zaida being able to run are the classic examples of what we fought hard for. We got a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Exactly.
Good morning.
I'm a little concerned because I also been doing some research and I had a conversation with the oldest icon in this city. Icon State Representative Benjamin Swan. Benjamin Swan tells me that he adores Peter Murphy and that Peter Murphy has done everything properly.
Wait, hold on. We're not going, I know who it is. We're not, wait. You can't call here and speak on behalf of Ben Swan. You know, we're not going to have that. What, say again? Okay, we got to let you go. We gotta let you go. No, you're not going. I see what's happening there because we know Ayanna is running for the seat that's held by Peter Murphy, and you're going to call here throwing shade, talking about Ben Swan, a well.
We're not even talking about Peter Murphy.
Well-loved icon in our community adores Peter Murphy to try to throw shade at Ayanna's campaign. We see you. We know what you're trying to do. That ain't working. You don't get to speak for Ben Swan. He can speak for himself. And he did not endorse Peter Murphy, and you ain't gonna do it for him. All right. So cut it out. Stop. All right. I'm sorry.
No, thank you for taking care of that. I think you did a better job than I would have. So thank you, Bishop. But thank goodness Zeta is here and Tanisha is here. I asked Tanisha to come and join us. We all know we're all sisters. We're all queens. You know, we're all sisters and we love each other and we support each other. I asked Tanisha to come to just add a little bit of her spice. But I want to get to Zeta because I didn't think she was going to be able to join us today. But I'm glad that you are. I wanted to really highlight the fact, and I don't know if you got to hear me talking to Ayanna a little bit earlier, Zeta, but I really wanted to highlight the fact that you and Ayanna are in a very unique position and you're unashamedly, you know, unified and supporting each other in the way that you're campaigning, you know, running your campaigns, you know, for city council and for school committee. We've never seen before. I mean, we know it as Black women, as Black and brown women, we certainly know it. And that's the way that we flow. That's the way that we operate. That's how we do things, you know, or whatever the case may be. But we've never seen it before politically speaking. And so I just wanted you to take a moment and kind of speak to what that experience is like for you. And just speak to the listeners about what's happening with that and why you chose to campaign in that way.
Thank you so much for having me here. I didn't think I was going to interview that well. I think I was going to make so happy that Ayanna, Tanisha, this campaign has been unique because I decided from the beginning, even before we decided we were going to run, that we were going to support each other. Campaigns, I feel like, should be. I've always had the vision in the city of Springfield, especially after a rise for social justice and, you know, Bishop Swan won the award. We should all get together, ward decide who we are going to run for that ward. That one person is out front, one person is short, that is going to represent our voices. And that's never done, like you said, First Lady. And, you know, that's been to me because I felt like that would be a sure way to get out of office that we don't need in office, and office that we need to be there. So that's what we decided to do. Yana and I have been campaigning myself. I'm campaigning for her. And she's doing the same thing for me. We support each other's fundraisers. You know, we know that, you know, if Yana has a opportunity to speak, she's going to say, oh, by City Council in Ward 8. And that's amazing. You know, I do the same thing when I'm able to speak. So it's just a different experience. I think, you know, and I don't want to toot we're going to do it. Other people should take the example, you know, and make it.
Great.
This is what we want for our city. Right? Here's race, we can do that to the state level. You know, if we decided as a state that we want to run a person who wins, we all, in every city in the Commonwealth, we're going to back, and we all work together to make sure.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. So Tanisha, you know, I just want you to kind of speak to, well, your perspective on having your ear to the ground with the community, right? With the community, but also, you know, what you think about seeing Ayanna and Zeta, you know, unified in their campaign and campaigning and running for, you know, school committee and city council, you know, seeing these, you know, these women of color come together like that, and, you know, just kind of express what you think that means to the community overall.
Okay. Well, I think it's amazing, and it's super important for the community to see that as Black and brown people, we can come together and support each other and push for the changes that we need in our community. I mean, I'm also going to make this distinction up front between Black folks and people of color, and I do that because you can be a person of color and be anti-Black, and anti-Blackness is something that's also a problem in our community. And we need to call that out and know that and know that it exists. I mean, my ear to the street, you know, and the work that I do, like, we have a community that is collectively hurting, has been collectively hurting about a lot of things. We're grieving. There are traumatic incidents that happen in the city, around the country, and we don't have a chance to mourn about that, to even know that we're mourning about that. And putting people in office who understand that and are part of that, I think, can also help drive this change so that we get the resources that we need in our communities to drive towards healing. Because before you can have any kind of thriving, you need to have healing that gets you away from surviving. And we've been in survival mode for so long, it's time to get away from that and what that looks like, right? And literally, we are, I feel like, on the precipice of change overall. People are ready for something different because what we have, it doesn't work. It's never worked. It's never been designed for us. So us coming together collectively and showing unity to each other, like, first of all, I think that's who we are ancestrally. This is how we operate. We're not a divisive people. And when Ayanna goes out and she's saying, oh, and Zeta's running, and when Zeta goes out and she's saying, oh, and Ayanna's running, and we are all collectively supporting candidates that look like us, that represent us in the best interest, and we're moving in these ways where it's like, yep, we want city council, we want school committee, we're coming for the mayor's office, because these things all go together. There's power in that. That's how we start to change these other systems and institutions. How do you get rid of the racist, not racist police commissioner? You need to get rid of her boss. Who's her boss? The mayor. Get somebody in those positions who really understands and cares about the community, all of the community, not just the same constituents that show up who have the same white supremacist, racist values that we don't want to talk about, but that are really here. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be in these conversations, to talk about these things in a way that maybe we haven't before, because I'm inserting the trauma pieces in there, because that's also part of this. Why do our communities look like how they do? Can we have a mayor who understands that it's not about calling our kids thugs and just arresting everybody with guns? It's knowing under-resourced communities create the conditions that are ripe for violence. And until you resource your communities, you're going to have violence.
Yeah.
Until people get what they need, this is what's going to happen, because people's basic needs aren't being met. We need to work on meeting basic needs, and that's basement level stuff. Just like saying Black Lives Matter, that's at the basement level.
Yeah.
That's not asking for anything extra. So this is what we need to do, like, to get basement level. That my life matters. It doesn't mean that your life matters less, because if we're gonna say all lives matter, then what's going on? Why does it look like this? I wouldn't have to say that if all lives matter.
All lives can't matter until Black lives matter. We've got to call it.
That's right, at the basement level.
Y'all see why I call it spice? That's spice.
Good morning, caller. Caller hung up. Go right ahead. Patience.
Y'all see why I call Tanisha spice?
I think.
Oh yeah. She's one of them hot spices. She one of them hot burn your tongue spices.
I just want to say that Frederick Douglass said that is the greatest form of violence, right? Mm-hmm. And the system is set up to try to maintain that poverty, maintain that oppression that continues to kill us, really. So until we, like Tanisha said, we address things, nothing else is going to change. And I think ward representation and people running who seriously believe that, who want to make those policy changes, is vital survival.
Exactly. And I think also it's important to critically analyze what we're discussing right here and not take it for sort of another conversation. It's critically important that we listen and we hear what not only I'm saying, but what we're all saying is that war representation is going to be effective if we have the right people in those positions. Absolutely. And so Black is Black, brown is brown. And so if you have an agenda that is of Black or of brown, then that's it. And so I get it. You might have the skin tone and you might not represent what you say you are. And so that's critically important. And so I'll say it like I've said it before. I'm Blackity Black. And so I'm making it clear on my voting, door knocking. No, I'm not Dominican. No, I'm not, however, I love my people, all people of color, right? Yeah. But let it be clear, I have a Black son. I have a Black daughter. And so my focus has always been, as an educator, all of my children. But when one child is hurting that's in my classroom, then we all come together to help that one child. And so right now in our country, in our world, our Black children are hurting. And so we all need to rise up and help those children, our babies. And so it is critically important that we have representation on the school committee that understands that, not from a political vantage point, not from a political landscape, but from a personal viewpoint, as a mother, as a grandmother, and as a citizen that is recognizable, woman, Black, on the school committee. Now, with that being said, let it not be misinterpreted that I am only going to make sure that Black children are taken care of. Let it not be said. I am concerned about all children, plain and simple. But at the end of the day, we have a group of children that are hurting, and we need to make sure that they're taken care of. Right. And that's what I want to make sure that the listeners, the voters, understand.
Right. So that to piggyback on Zeta's, to piggyback on Anna's point, if we can make sure that our Black kids are taken care of, the other children by default will be taken care of, because it's our Black children who are the furthest away from the resources. And if we design things that are for the folks furthest away from the margins, right, everybody else will have access. Because if the people who are the furthest away and have the hardest time getting the resources can get them, everybody else can. And the easiest thing that you could think of are curb cuts in the sidewalks. That's for folks who are in wheelchairs, who have limited walking capabilities. It doesn't affect you or I if we're able-bodied in that way, but for somebody who's in a wheelchair and needs that, it's really important. And because they can access it, so can we, even though we don't need it. So just by virtue, when you start uplifting Black communities, all the other communities lift because they already have just a little bit more resources. And that's also something that we need to name, right? When you take care of Black America, the rest of America is doing great. When you don't take care of Black America, who is the furthest away from the power and closest to the pain, everybody else is suffering. They just don't realize it, but they are. And that unity of realizing my issues are actually your issues too, because it matters if you get evicted out of your house, right? Like what that's going to do to our community. It matters that your child got incarcerated. It matters that your child got suspended. And it matters about the dress code. And you can't mandate masks, but you can mandate uniforms. But uniforms are like tied to school to prison pipeline. Like we got to think about these things. And it matters. That school committee representation, it matters. Because I don't have any kids in the Springfield public school systems right now, but I did. And it matters to me that there are people on the committee who can say, I have Black sons. And they can understand what's happening to those Black sons in school. And it matters that the people on city council can understand about police brutality because they have Black sons, Black kids, Black daughters that have Black boyfriends and everything else. Because you'll understand that terror. Oh my gosh, my son took my car and my inspection sticker is expired. Right? Can my white city council people understand that? No, because oh honey, the sticker's expired. Don't worry, we'll take care of it another day. That could be life and death for somebody that looks like me. And I need somebody representing me that understands that. That's what our community needs. People in those positions who understand what our conditions are and will work to change them. And then our responsibility is to hold those folks accountable. And when they don't do those things, to vote them out. There is power in that. And for anyone who thinks at this point in time that their vote doesn't matter, if it didn't matter, why are they trying to stop us from voting?
So hard.
In plain sight.
Right.
Plain sight. Because it matters. They have bombed churches, killed babies, because we were talking about voting. That is the power.
Right.
That is from the framework of this country. Political power and wealth, population count, voting. It matters. We need ward representation, but we also need the wards to show up. Ward 3, I'm talking to you.
Come on.
Show up. We need you to show up. Show up and show out.
Up and show
I need
out.
to vote like this is your jam. Like, oh my gosh, that's my song, and you run to the dance floor. Like, I need you to show up and vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Right.
It does. Elections have consequences, right?
They do.
They do. And I want to jump in really quickly. Just to extrapolate what you said in terms of you don't have children in the school system, because that's what I'm hearing on the doors, right? And so my response to that, to voters on the doors, is even though you do not have children in the current school system, you need to make sure that we are protecting the students currently in there, because we want to have an educated workforce, right? We want students to be able to read, right? We want students to be able to write, right? We want students to be able to have a thinking, analytical mind. And so I'm concerned, as I get older, that the people that will be handling this country know what you're doing. And so I'm concerned, even if I didn't have children that were in the system, I'm concerned about the future generations in terms of the workforce. And so that's what we also need to say to folks that don't have children. You need to be concerned about the workforce. Those people that are going to be managing things in our government, managing things in our city, managing things at the local level. They need to know how to read, and they need to know how to write. They need to know how to compute. They need to know how to understand mathematical equations. They need to know how to interrelate with each other. They need those skills. And those skills are brought about by being in an educational environment, whether you're homeschool, whether you're virtual learning, whether you're remote learning, whether you are working, whatever. We have to be concerned about the education of all children, irregardless of if you don't have any children currently. And so I just want to
I gotta jump in here. I gotta a question for each of you, but I wanted to make these 2 points if I don't forget them. You know, I still got that COVID mind, but but you know, so this is getting good. So well, it's always good when I'm talking to y'all. But anyway, I wanted to say, you know, just to get back to what Tanisha was saying about resources and resourcing Black children. This is not us begging, you know, and asking for what we don't deserve. We're saying that our children deserve this, and we are demanding now. We're finally getting to the point to where, you know, we're transitioning into political power enough to say, no, our children deserve this, you know, our children deserve this. And when our children receive it, then like Tanisha said, by default, all of the children, you know, all of the children will benefit from it. And speaking to the remarks that you were talking about, Ayana, education and criminal activity. And we're not talking about big stuff, you know, but we're talking about maybe stealing, maybe, you know, or whatever the case may be, you know, stealing food, you know, shoplifting and things like that. Education or the quality of education is directly linked to criminal activity. Directly linked. So if we're not providing a quality education or education that our children can look forward to, right? You know, that, you know, inspires their future, then more than likely it's going to be an increase in criminal activity. It's going to be an increase in criminal activity. That's just the way that is. Why do we think that more affluent communities educational system has a better quality than, say, you know, urban schools and so on and so forth, which I don't like using those code words, but you know, nevertheless, you know, urban schools and so on and so forth. The quality of education is directly linked to criminal activity, you know, to what they categorize as criminal activity, because contrary to popular belief, it's a lot of crime going on in those affluent white communities. They're just not high profile, and they're not getting arrested like Black kids are, you know, and Black folks are. But here's my question. So I want you to answer it from a community perspective, Tanisha. I certainly want you to answer it from a school committee perspective, Ayana, and you from a city council perspective, Zeta. So my question is, name the top 3 issues for you as it pertains to the school committee, city council for you, Zeta, and the community for you, Tanisha. Top 3, and we'll start with you, Ayana. We'll go back to you. School committee. Top 3 issues.
Critically important. That's a great question. So again, we've sort of talked a lot about it, making sure that one child, our Black children, have the resources and the things that they need in the educational field, right? And so making sure that parent engagement, community engagement is happening in our schools, not just on the surface level, but really, you know, partnering with community-based organizations, partnering with community leaders to have those mentorships, to have them to be able to see folks doing well in their communities. And so really critically pointing that out. To have transparency, you know, with our parents and our administrators and our school district, to make sure that things are transparent and that we're accountable for what we're doing, because we can't do things in silos anymore, and we certainly can't do things in the back doors. We have to be open and honest about where we're going in education for the 21st century. And then I think also making sure that we have high quality education, especially technology, especially STEM, because we know that our children thrive in technology. We see it with them interacting with their peers. We see them at home. And so we need to translate what they do naturally in our school system. And so that's critically important for me, coming from a perspective of a potential school committee member, a mother, a grandmother, and making sure that we critically analyze how we are moving with our Black and brown children and all of our children. And lastly, I want to say this. We've got to make sure our buildings are safe and sound. And I don't mean just COVID protected or what have you. I'm looking at environmental concerns, mold, other things that are going on in our buildings. I'm concerned that we haven't had an environmental scientist, right, that comes into our school and analyzes what is happening with those school buildings. We know that we have had a lot of older buildings. So yes, we've done a lot of refurbishing. We've done a lot of, rebuilding of schools, tearing down schools, but we need to go into those schools and look at the environmental issues that are harming our children and our staff and our administrators. We know that asthma at one point was we were one of the highest cities of asthma per capita. However, we understand that there is a decline, but I would venture off to say there might be another incline of it because of what's happening in our buildings. So that is a priority for me. I want our children to have an environmentally safe building to go into if they're going to be in there more than 8 hours of the day. And of course, for our teachers and our administrators. So those are some of my thoughts and my concerns. I've got more, but you did say 3, so I want to be able to be respectful of that.
Thank you, Ayana. Zeta? We can't hear you. We still can't hear you. Yeah. So we'll go to Tanisha and we'll try to come back to you. Tanisha, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a lot of overlap for I would say 3 issues I see in community that are important that are in alignment with some of the things that Ayana was saying. And I'll go backwards. When we talk about the environment, and Arise has had its hands in environmental work for years. The biomass plant was recently canceled again. Hopefully it's dead this time. And it's this idea about the environment, and I see it as the built environment and the natural environment. Now, we live in a designated environmental justice community in Springfield, and that means that there are decisions that have been made that have caused harm, right? And certainly building a biomass plant that would pollute the air in a community that was, up until recently, the asthma capital of the United States, not the state of Massachusetts, the United States, right? And it's like more than half of the people have asthma or other respiratory issues, right? But they wanted to put this plant here, and we had to come together. So it's like, yes, our outside environment is impacting us, but it's also this built environment. And it's the bandwidth that we have. Like, can I really be concerned about clean air? Which, yes, I need clean air because I'm human, but there are these other things on me that would kill me sooner. Because it took them 12 years. They've been trying to build a plant for 12 years, but I'm literally living as a Black person in the United States, and racism will kill you. Police brutality will kill you, right? The house that you live in could kill you if it has mold, right? So there are all these other things that could kill me. But environmental things are also really important. When we start talking about climate change, it's too hot, it's too cold. But that, to me, ties into a community issue of homelessness. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and people, well, you need to shelter in place. How do you tell someone to shelter in place when they don't have a place to shelter in? And we haven't addressed that issue. Homelessness is a problem in our community. And then I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about the under-resourcing and the violence, right? We'll say, well, we're like crabs in a barrel. But nobody has considered that crabs don't belong in a barrel. They're in an unnatural environment. So what happens? They're trying to get to a natural state. I'm trying to have the things that I need. The biggest issue, our communities don't have the things that they need in terms of resourcing, right? Food insecurity, not a place to live, the cost of rent, of shelter. When we think about what someone looks like that's homeless, it's not the person who you envision in your brain, like pushing a shopping cart and whatever. No, it's somebody who has a good job, but they can't afford basic rent because wages don't keep up with those costs. That's a problem, right? What's plaguing our community? Going back to the school part, right? Like, our children being exposed to being criminalized, like from kindergarten, having the police having unfettered camera access to our children under surveillance, going to school. That's an issue. Down the pike, that's an issue because that school's a prison pipeline, right? Like I said this at the height of the pandemic when kids were doing Zoom school. Do they want them to go back to school because that pipeline is dry?
Yeah.
Because you need the kids to be in school so you can over-police them to put them into the criminal justice system so that they can wind up doing work for free and being disenfranchised. And that's slavery 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that we need to think about in terms of our elections and who are in these positions, because those things matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is something impacting our community. Like, I'm talking to parents, like, how do you feel about sending your kids back to school?
Right.
We're still in the middle of a pandemic and under-resourcing COVID testing, COVID vaccines, the dynamics around that. These are things that we need to name, and the misinformation is plaguing our country. And I understand that we don't trust our government because we have good reason. But we also need to make decisions so that we can stay alive, because that's our resistance. And that's how we change it. We got to be here to change it. So that's what I've said about the three things. And then I got to hop off.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. We just going to wrap it up with Zeta. And listen, let me say this real quick. I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us today during the after show. This is really only the second episode, officially episode. And as you can see, we still haven't come up with a name yet.
Of Queen and Slim. Of Queen and Slim.
No, it's not Queen. We're not going with Queen. I like Justice and Flow. What y'all think of Justice and Flow? I like Justice and Flow.
Oh, I like
anyway,
that too. I like that too.
Did we just lose Ada? I think we just lost her. I think she just popped off.
We both have to hop off at 11.
Yeah. So I think we just lost her. But, you know, something was going on with her technology anyway, so we couldn't hear her. Fortunately, we couldn't hear what she had to say. But anyway, I want to say thank you again to you ladies, you queens. You know, y'all rock. Y'all know what I feel about you personally, you know, or whatever. I'm really, really, really excited about you and what you're doing with Arise, Tanisha. And I'm certainly glad that Ayana has stepped up, you know, to run for school committee. I'm really, really happy about Zeta running for city council out here in Ward 8. We need you all, and I just want you to feel encouraged and know that the Black community, you know, and others, you know, that understand justice and understand righteousness, we have your back. We have your back. Bishop, did you want to wrap up?
Well, thank you to all of the ladies that came on today. Invigorating conversation, you know, talking about our local politics, got a little bit into the history, why it's important, not only for people to come out and vote, but for us to have viable candidates to vote for. So that's always important. And I want to thank the listening audience that sticks and stays with us, you know, for the Queen and Slim Hour. And, and I want to thank the Queen as well. But y'all know what it is when we officially name it and claim it. But remember, once again, let me just give you those dates again. September 16th, Virtual Freedom Fund. You see it down there right now to register. It's pinned to this video. Click that, register for the Virtual Freedom Fund. Also, the 9th through the 12th, our Holy Convocation at Spring of Hope. And don't miss Hope Fest. Don't miss Hope Fest 2021 at the church. Entertainment, everything is going to be going on. Vaccination clinics, everything is happening there. And Matt, get your pitching arm ready. Dunk the Bishop is happening, and I'm confident I'm gonna get out the tank dry. So anyway, that's what it is. Always a pleasure being with you, babe. I'll let you have the last word.
Hey, I just want everybody to have a chance to vote on what name they like.
Okay, well, we'll put a poll up next week. Next week, we will put a poll up, and what we will do, we'll let y'all vote on it, and we'll let the listening audience make the decision on what the name is going to be. Queen and Slim. We out.
Yeah, we out.
Till the next time. I talk to y'all and y'all talk to us and all of that kind of stuff. Always remember, God loves you. So do I.
Peace.
Thank you for joining.